The president will be faced with a dilemma. He'll have the Social Security Act, which obligates him to pay money, a specific amount of money, to literally millions of people. And then there's something called the Anti-Deficiency Act, which says you can't pay money that's not been appropriated by Congress.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with commentary editor Conn Carroll. And Conn, it is the 90th birthday this week of the Social Security program, and the Washington Examiner has written an editorial saying that it could very well look completely different by its 100th birthday. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the short answer is it's running out of money. Right?
I've been hearing that my whole life. So
it's actually going to happen soon. It's 2033 is the
that is soon.
That is soon. That's less than 10 years away. Hence why it's going to be much different by its 100th birthday. So Social Security from the beginning passed in 1935. First benefit checks start going out in 1940. First taxes collected in 1939, the year before. It's basically fine throughout most of its first 30 or so years. But throughout that time, you have mostly Democrats keep adding on benefits without adding on more taxes. And then you have stagflation in the 70s, and it comes close to being bankrupt in the 70s. Okay. But Congress actually gets their stuff together.
This is a family show.
Sorry. Congress gets their stuff together. They actually act. They pass a law. The president signs
Unheard of.
Right?
Yeah.
And it raises taxes, cuts benefits. But it actually doesn't only work for about, or it works, but only for about 5 years. So then in 1982, the Social Security Fund actually runs out of money.
Interesting.
It actually
so that already happened before.
It happened before. It hit zero. And what the Treasury Department did is they borrowed a little money from the disability insurance program. They borrowed a little money from the hospital trust fund to pay out the checks. And that gave Congress a couple more months. And Congress, again, belatedly this time, actually got their stuff together, passed an actual law, and the president signed it. And we've had trust fund surpluses ever since. Again, that same law delayed the Social Security retirement age, also raised taxes a bit, and we've had the surpluses for a while. But that all changed, actually, in 2008. And then 2008 was the last year that the Social Security system took in more in payment in taxpayer payroll tax revenue than it paid out in benefits. So ever since then, Social Security has been actually adding to the deficit. Because even though there are these, fictitious trust fund assets, those aren't really worth anything. So every year that the Social Security system pays out more than it takes in, that has to be financed either by new higher taxes, which hasn't happened, cuts in benefits or other spending somewhere else in the government, also hasn't happened, or borrowing, which is what has happened. So basically, since 2009, the Social Security system has been adding to the deficit for every year.
Just real quick, what happened in 2009 that changed that dynamic?
It's just you had more and more benefits being paid out.
Well, but why? Was it like baby boomers were getting old, or what?
Yes.
What was it? Yeah.
Yes, all those things.
Yeah.
So it was originally supposed to last forever. A big part of it was, as you may know, they capped the amount of income that can be subject to the payroll tax, and then they assumed that the wage gains would be more spread out between everyone. But the wage gains since the 80s have been kind of more spread out towards the wealthy getting a lot of it. So the taxes are not captured as much as they expected.
Can you lift that cap? Let's just tax all the income.
Well, I mean,
but why wouldn't Congress do that? That's a tax the rich thing. Everybody loves that,
I mean, that is a possibility Congress could do. They could, in theory, do it today, or they could do it when we get closer to it. But generally, there hasn't been an appetite for that.
This is probably betrays my ignorance of this program and stuff, but why has no one ever floated, means testing the program? Rich billionaires don't need to retire on Social Security, Is that not one of the fixes that's ever in the mix?
The short answer is yes, that is a fix that is in the mix. So Social Security is not a blanket benefit.
You get a percentage of what you pay in, right? Something.
Kind of.
It's tied to what you paid in.
It's tied. There's a formula, right?
You thought this was going to be a high-minded discussion. This is actually Social Security for dummies.
These are great questions. So a lot of people think you put your money into the system. There's some account where the union gets money. That's not it at all.
Okay.
It's a pay-as-you-go system. People pay in, and then there is a formula that ties what you made and what you paid into the system to what you get out.
Yes.
But most
Okay.
people, unless they die really early, get way more out of the system than they paid in. Okay?
When they were working.
When they were working. So if you, were kind of minimum wage your whole life, but you worked the whole time, you're going to get like maybe the minimum benefit for your time. If you're middle class, it's a little bit bigger. And then if you maxed out, and you were earning past that limit, and you also can get more if you retire later. You can get up to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. And so there's a wide range of what recipients are getting from Social Security every month.
So what happens, let's say we hit the year 2033.
Right.
The trust runs out.
Right.
Does Congress need to do anything? Does the president have any authority here?
Congress can do something, but with the Congress as we come to know it, they probably won't. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Tracks. Right. So then at that point, the president will be faced with a dilemma. He'll have the Social Security Act, which obligates him to pay money, a specific amount of money, to literally millions of people. And then there's something called the Anti-Deficiency Act, which says you can't pay money that's not been appropriated by Congress.
Okay.
So he's going to have to figure out how to manage these two conflicting laws. And basically, there's nothing in the Social Security Act that tells him what to do, which means he can do whatever he wants. So a lot of people have always assumed that when we hit this bankruptcy of the Social Security Trust Fund and it runs out of money, that everyone will just get a straight 23% cut in reductions. But it doesn't have to be that way. The president could say, I'm going to, instead of cutting everyone's dividend by 23%, I'm going to set a new max limit. This is kind of like the means testing thing before. Everyone is going to get, $2,000, $2,500, whatever it is. And then that's just it. People who were supposed to get more, they're just not going to get it. And because of prior Supreme Court precedent, there's really not much they can do to get that money back.
So he could just make it into like a UBI for old people.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. And do
Good point.
conservatives like that idea or no?
Well, I mean, some do, some don't. I think fiscal hawks really should, right? Because this past year, the Social Security system paid out about $180 billion more in benefits than it took in taxes, right? So that means and that gap is only going to grow over the next until 2033. So if you extend, about $200 billion a year over 10 years, that's $2 trillion.
It's a lot of money.
So if the president takes this route and Congress does nothing, if he just caps Social Security benefits and, as you said, basically turns Social Security into UBI for old people, that would actually save taxpayers and reduce the deficit by $2 trillion over the next 10 years.
That sounds pretty good
That's
to
real money.
conservatives,
That's
right?
real money.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Conn, thank you so much for being
Absolutely.
here today. You can get more from Conn and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.